Hello.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Good to see you all. How are you exactly tonight?
Oh, so good. So good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm very, very good. Very busy. About to do my Alchemy of Wealth event this weekend down south in Albany. So I've just got someone over who's flown down especially for it. And yeah, we're kind of getting ready to get moving, and then been watching an absolute astonishment at the crypto feralness. And so, yes, it's been an interesting day.
Exciting. Lots of excitement in the air.
Yeah, well, big year. And now you got some exciting stuff. What's your topic going to be on today?
One of our favorites,
Oh, what's that?
time optimization.
Oh, yeah. No, well, that's definitely something that we all need, and not just the women. We all need this.
Because Warren, so many women that we work with, the number one thing, the most common thing we hear is, I'm just so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I hear that all the time.
we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Well, that's good. And you're both looking really good. Looking
So are
great.
you, Warren. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Warren.
You could join me and become pole dancers like me if you want.
Oh, that's one place I'm not going. I'm happy to be in the audience.
I don't think my flexibility, my legs just wouldn't get up there, and I've got a lot of strength work to go yet.
Oh,
We remember, Warren, we've been traveling around Europe for a couple of years. So Jen and I have got a little bit of work to do just to, get ourselves back on the fitness track and getting ourselves up a pole. That might be a couple of steps down the track.
Actually, I've got to introduce you very quickly, because the guy here is Trent. Remember, Jen, I told you about him. This is a genius who fixed up women with their different, hemp products and that. Remember I told you about him?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the guy here. Hey, Trent, you want to come on and say a quick hi? You got to say a quick hi. This guy just fixes women's stuff like you wouldn't believe. He's brilliant. He's like, it's the secret weapon for women.
Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about both of you.
Yeah, we need to hook up.
Yeah, that's a brilliant tagline as well. Fixes women's stuff like you wouldn't believe.
He does, but he's like everything from period pain to migraines. He's got all kinds of products that are like genius that he's invented himself. Amazing.
So good. Yeah. So
Hook
good.
up needed.
Definitely.
I'll have to send you girls some stuff and you can check it out.
Yeah.
Love to. Yeah. Fabulous.
We're just in discussions about a sovereignty school we're going to be setting up to help people from beginning to end with sovereignty and getting out of the system and everything. So stay tuned.
You're on fire at the moment, Warren.
Yeah.
I am, yeah. I'm feeling better than yesterday. I was so sore. I trained so hard on the pole. I wrecked my side muscles and did all kinds of physio yesterday because my whole right side, I couldn't even move it, hey? I was like jammed up so yeah. There's a price for pay for trying to be a smart mum on the pole.
That's why I'm staying away from the pole.
Okay, well, I'll hand over to you guys before I jeopardize this show. And
lovely to meet you, girls.
Yeah, great to meet you.
Fred, nice to meet you. I feel like, for the ladies listening in, I think write that down. I work so hard on the pole. I think that could be the takeaway of the night. just in case, that could be it.
I don't think we're going to get one better than that.
Okay, I'm going to go into share screen, ladies. Give me 1 minute and let's get this up and get into it. Get your pen and your paper ready because, we're gonna go through this one. I think what could be cool, Jen, maybe to kick off is in the chat section, when you think about your time and how you're spending it, and how your day feels and how the hours feel and how the weeks feel and how the months feel and how, oh my gosh, summer here in Australia just ended. Like how is all the seasons feeling when it comes to time right now? Maybe you have one word that comes to you. Maybe it is overwhelmed. Maybe it is not fulfilled. Maybe it is exhausted. Maybe it is, I feel like a busy idiot. Maybe it is like I'm running around like a chook with my head cut off, or maybe it is like I feel good. Maybe it's I'm being intentional with my time, but I need to know how to use it even better. So just in the chat section, as we kick off, what's kind of one feeling, that comes up, one thing that you think about when you think of yourself and just time at the moment? How's it feeling for you? Oops, let me just move that so I can see the chat as we talk through it.
Yeah.
Overwhelm time, what's that? Overwhelm.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wendy's got a whole lot going on at once. It feels like monkey mind.
Monkey mind, yeah.
Sometimes I know for me, Nick, it's felt in the past like having my head and my arms and my legs all getting pulled in different directions. It's like someone always wants something and I don't know, where do I go? What do I do? And it's exhausting.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, that's a good place to start, Jen, because really, you know, this is a common thing. So I think the first thing is like, let's breathe out. Like if everyone's feeling that, it's like, we're not alone. We've got to work this thing out. And I remember always being in that space, especially when I remember when I was in that transition mode, like working the full-time corporate job and trying to start the side business. I was starting the business on the side. And, you know, a lot of ladies that we work in are in that space, in that juggle phase. And so your capacity, it feels like, you know, you've got these buckets that are just like your time and your energy and your focus feels like, oof, how much of it do I really have to give? And I remember always going, gosh, I just wish I had more time. Like, does anyone say that? Do you catch yourself going, I wish I had more time. And we got to get to that point where we go, hey, why wish for what we can't really have, right? We got 24 hours in a day. That is that. We need to instead work out how to use it differently and with more intention. Yeah, Jen, you said I need an extra 8 hours. So, you know, a lot of the things that we hear with time is you can feel like you're behind, you can feel scattered, you can feel like you're overwhelmed, you feel like, yes, you're busy, because remember our society right now, especially for women, somehow has built this badge of honor that busy is like a trophy. And, you know, if you're not busy, are you even working hard? If you're not busy, are you even doing everything in life? Like, come on, us women can do everything. And I think it's, you know, Jen and I, we step way outside of that. It's not being busy. It's about not doing everything. It's about doing what matters based on who we say we are and what we say we want. That's kind of what it boils down to. So what we're going to go through today, ladies, is we're going to talk about it from a top level point of view, because sometimes we need to zoom out, take a breath and have a top level look at things before we can zoom in and go, right now, what are my tactical moves? What are the tangible things that I can do so that I feel different about my time, so that I use my time differently? So let's dive into it. And again, we will maybe take some screenshots of this and just take notes along the way at this point. Jen, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what it all boils down to. So again, we're zooming right out, taking a drone look at this situation of feeling overwhelmed, feeling like we never have enough time. And really, this little quote is fairly powerful down the bottom there. People are loose with their time and tight with their money, when really it should be the other way around. Because we can always create more money, but we can't create more time. This hour tonight, once it's gone forever. We can't get it back. And this is why we need to be so careful with our time. And if we really think about what are we really chasing, we're chasing a feeling, and we're chasing a feeling of fulfillment, of satisfaction, of peace, and of calm. And so how do we achieve the things we need to achieve and stay in that state, so we don't spend 80 years getting to where we want to go? Oh my God, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. Oh, and feeling like a martyr, and everyone's pulling us and putting everyone else first and never doing anything ourselves, and our cortisol levels are up here and our anxiety is up here, and our health goes down the tube, and we know we're not the best version of ourselves, and we never get to that sense, that feeling that we're chasing of peace and satisfaction and fulfillment and calm. And so here's what we know. Feeling overwhelmed is a symptom of not having focus, of not knowing what to focus on. So when we're unclear, when we don't have clarity about exactly what we want our life to look like, if we're not designing our life, we're living it by default. We're living our life according to whatever other people throw at us. And that doesn't feel good. That feels really reactive. But if we have a plan, it's like, you know, when you see horses at the races, a lot of them have the blinders on. It's to keep them focused on the goal. Otherwise, because those horses, if they have no blinders on and they're just looking around and see what their mates are doing, and, oh, look over there, and they don't get their eyes on the job. And so if we're not clear on what we want our life to look like, if we're not clear on exactly what's important and what's not important, then how do we know what to say yes to, and how do we know what to say no to? And we end up just saying yes to everything, and then we say yes to too many things, and we spend our time doing the things that don't really matter. And then that is that feeling of overwhelm. So clarity creates focus, and focus takes away the overwhelm, because we just say yes to the things that matter. Now, I don't want you to immediately go to, well, that means I need to be so selfish and you know, I have a family and blah, 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 and I can't just make it all about me. It's like, no, it's not all about you. And what we teach in our Women to Wealth course is how to create goals in all 9 areas of your life. And some of those areas are family and relationships and fun and adventure and romance, as well as business and money and spiritual and other health and other areas. So we want to have even spokes on the wheel, but we need to design each of those areas so then we can put our blinkers on and have a really balanced life. Because it's when we don't design it intentionally that we end up getting pulled in all sorts of directions, and our spokes get really out of balance, and it just feels like a very bumpy ride, and we don't get to where we want to go when we're riding a bike with broken spokes. Want to add anything there, Nick?
No, I think that's perfect. I think just following on from that, and just a bit of a rehash from our last couple of calls, and also a bit more of a breakdown for you, this is how we do that zoom out. So it's always this top-down approach, because a lot of the time, and I don't know if you can relate to this, I'm sure that you can, but we get so caught up in the nuts and bolts of things. Like, as in, I'm down here just like busy doing. It's like, haven't even caught my breath for a while. It's just like head down, bum up, do. And nuts and bolts are important, right? But we got to know what nut and what bolt, so to speak. Otherwise, we're just going. And so what we do from a zoom out perspective is we have to start with the vision first. And this just gives you a bit of a framework if you get stuck with, yeah, but how do I know what's really important? Because remember last week we spoke about the reticular activating system, the RAS part of our brain, how we've got to help it out, how we've got to work with with what we were given, because we have everything we need. The world is just busy distracting us. But if we can get really clear and help activate this part of our brain, help give it intention, help give it direction, then we can help guide ourselves with, as what you said, Jen, what do I say yes to? What do I say no to? Because that's where my destination is. So we'll always go top down. So take a screenshot of this, because often when we're working with women, we say, what are your goals? They're actually more like actions, right? It's more in the busy. It's more down here in the do. It's like, no. What's the vision for your life? Like, have you played out the movie for your life yet? Even in the next 12 months? What does it look like? What do you want it to feel like? Who do you want to be? What do you want to have change? What do you see? Who do you wake up with? What do you do each day? What's important to have in your life? That's the vision of your life. And then goals are more tangible. They back up that vision. They help us achieve that feeling, that thing, that outcome. So we need to know what goal, as Jen said, is the priority, because kind of like a bit of a news flash, we can't have it all at once. Like, we can't win at everything at once. Eventually, yeah, but it's what's important for you to win at right now. So that's the goals. And then we start looking at the priorities and the actions, which are deciding what comes first, which is getting clarity around what action is the needle mover that I need to get done to move me towards the goal. If we don't do that, and I know, I think is it DeMartini? He speaks a lot about if you don't give your time intentions, someone else will. If you don't give your money intentions, someone else will. If you don't give your purpose intentions, someone else will give you purpose, right? So it's like we need to be in charge of this because the world will take your time. It will distract us. It will exhaust us. And we're going to talk about some things, some really kind of, I guess, tactical things to be aware of and start putting in place so that you're not depleted with your time. So that's our zoom out. We've got to get clear on this first so that now we can zoom in and go, okay, how do I use my time with intention? So let's dive into shifts, Jen, shifts in perception and how we see our time.
Okay, so this is really about how do we view and value our time. And so I think about the person who, let's say, you're driving along the road and you need to fill your car up with fuel, and you see over here is the fuel's 2 cents a litre cheaper than over this side of the road. And this lineup is huge, right? Everyone's lined up. It's like, oh my gosh, like how long is it going to take to get fuel in my car? And over here, there's like 2 cars. And so which person are you going to be? The one who's going to try and save 2 cents a litre, or the one who's going to save 30 minutes of your time? And this is really about saying, well, if I want to have more money in my life, so let's say for me, I decided I wanted to create $1 million a year. That means on a 40-hour week, my time is worth $500 an hour. Now, once I decide that, I've got to act like that, right? So it means if I want to spend an hour having a scroll on my phone through my social media, that just cost me $500 to have that 1 hour scroll on social media. And then I can say, well, is it worth it? Was that really worth $500? So see how we can't ask ask to be paid $500 an hour and then spend our time as if it's not worth $500 an hour. Does that make sense? Yeah, actually, Wendy, great example is cleaning. And T. Harv Eker, I learned this from him. I think I was reading his book, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, or something like that is his book. And I remember, and this was like, oh my gosh. And so he basically said, let's say you earn $50 an hour, and let's say a cleaner costs $30 an hour. And so if you can be earning $50 an hour, but pay a cleaner $30, why would you pay yourself $50 an hour to clean the toilet? Like once you clean the toilet a few times, you know how to clean the toilet, right? You could work an extra couple of hours and take the extra $20, that 50 minus 30, and pay the cleaner, let's say 2 hours of cleaning, and you're $40 an hour better off for paying the cleaner to clean your toilet. And yet when you get this, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, what do I value my time or my money? And if I can create at this hourly rate, then it's just a mathematical equation, right? That I should get a cleaner. And yet so many people won't get the cleaner because they don't want to fork out the $60, even though it will free up 2 hours of their time at which they can earn $100. So this is the conversation and the switch that we need to make, and how we need to start so preciously guarding our time. Nick, what do you want to add to that?
I think for here, the gap is when we're striving for, I want more income, like I want to earn this amount, but And this is a lot of probably Harvecker, and also, you know, we talk a lot about Joe Dispenza as well. But as you said, Jen, we're not being, thinking, acting, deciding of a person that earns that. So I'm sure you ladies may have heard the be, do, have. So a lot of people wait until I have it, then I'll do that thing. I'll definitely do the action then. That's when I'll be able to afford a cleaner. And then I'll be so much happier because I won't have to be doing the cleaning. And it's really this flip of who do I need to be? Therefore, what do I need to do? And therefore have that result. But the key is when we don't measure the value of our time, then how are we meant to really audit it? So if we don't decide what the value of our time is, someone else does. And we forget that that's something that we're in charge of. So in a second, we're going to get you to get your calculator out, because we're actually going to piece this together for you so that it actually makes sense and you can just start embodying this. And when you have your number, it's like, oh, wow. You start making different decisions. You start responding differently. You start saying no to more things. And, you know, I think this is important is, you know, and we do this a lot, Jen, is just the self-audit. So this next exercise we're going to do is you're going to work out what the value of your time is. And I had a mentor ask me a question once, and this really puts it in perspective, right? It really puts it in perspective. It's like, okay, Warren Buffett, would you trade places with him? Because what, he's worth 136 billion? It's like, oh my God, absolutely. Then he said, yeah, but he's 93. So he might cark it tomorrow. And it's like, oh, no, I wouldn't. And hopefully, I'm hoping you're saying no, because you get that time is the finite resource. That's the most valuable one. That's the one that we truly want to get back and use the way we want to use it. And sometimes we just forget that, is that time is the one. So no, I wouldn't trade places with him because I don't want to potentially cark it tomorrow. There's a good chance I've got a lot more innings in me, and that's precious to me. So what this next exercise really helps us do is two things. Investigate the value of all the actions that you start taking. So once you know this, then you can audit your week, audit your day. And I recommend doing this because sometimes we have so much leakage going on that we're just unaware of, because we're used to our habits and we're used to our routines. And until we become conscious and go, hold on, what did I just do those last 2 hours? So the study is, I think the average person spends 2.5 hours on social media scrolling a day, 2.5 hours. That is crazy. We need to take our time back. We need to fight for our focus. You know, Jen and I say it a lot, the people with focus right now are part of the 5%ers, because pretty much no one has focus these days. So what this does is, one, investigate the value of every action that you got to take. And then two, how long you take to do it. So calculators out, ladies, and get ready to pop in the chat. So what we want you to do is this little formula here that we have, and it's called the rule of 1920. And it's based on 40 hours a week across 48 weeks, which our days is probably like 60 hours a week across 48 weeks is probably the average person's, you know, work life at the moment. But let's be nice. Let's go 40 hours. And basically you get 1920. So what you want to do is understand what your dream number is. So this is part of creating the vision for your life. And this is what we help our ladies do is, yeah, we need to know what do we want it to look like, but what's that life going to cost? Like, what's the target? What's the number that we need? And we did a lot of that stuff last week as well with that calculator. So what's the dream number? And divide that by 1920. And you now have your hourly rate. So if you can, if you've got your calculator out, or maybe you're just a lot smarter than me, you can do it in your head. What number does everyone have? Just share it with us. So when I first did this, I had to do this, and it's such a simple activity, but it was like instant change for me. It was just instant. It was like, wow, I never actually put a value on my number. I let someone else put a value on it. And sometimes I didn't even think about it. I'd just be giving it away, like spend all of my time. And it was this simple exercise where I'm like, okay, I get the value now based on what I say I want and the life I want to create. So remember how we said it does two things, the value of an action and how long you take to do it. So sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, when we're on the path to maybe we're doing our full-time job, maybe we've got a side business here, maybe we've got all these different things going on, there are activities that need to be done and you're not yet at delegation phase, right? We're not yet there. We're not yet hiring someone. Yes, a cleaner, but maybe it's like a social media person. The business isn't yet there. Like you are wearing hats. So there sometimes is activities that, you know what, we got to suck it up and get it done. But rather than taking an hour to do a post, is one social media post worth $1,546, Fiona? Probably not. So are we going to dwell on it? Are we going to take a whole heap of time? Are we going to worry about it? Or is it going to make us more efficient? And this is something we're going to get into soon as well. Rach, so you want to have your dream number. So say, let me ask you, what amount, even just in the next 12 months, would you love to be earning? What income amount do you want to hit? So get really clear on that. And then divide that by 1920. That's it. Super simple formula. And then you have your hourly rate.
So Nick, I realized that the formula on the next page, it's just back to front. So that should be dream number divided by 40 times.
So follow this section.
1920. Yeah. So just flick those around.
Yeah. Follow that one.
Yeah. So for me, it's $1 million. Let's say when I decided I wanted to earn $1 million a year, it was $1 million divided by 1920, and that's 520. So that means $520 an hour is the number that I had to start to value my time at so that $1 million a year could show up in my life. So I had to act like every hour of my time was worth $520. And I'm telling you, it completely changes the way you show up. It completely changes what you say yes to and what you say no to. It completely changes how much time that you leak on silly things that just don't matter.
Yeah, 130 per hour. Also, which actually doesn't seem. Yeah, which it's Nolene, it's so funny. So that's the other power of numbers when we get really clear. So you know how when we don't give our mind direction or clarity, it makes up a whole heap of stories. And usually just because we're bloody human and how we're programmed, we make the story hard. We make the story unhelpful. We make the story like it's going to be really difficult. But then when we actually go, let me just add some logic to this. Let me work this out. Let me piece this together. This is why clarity is magic, because we realize, oh my God, it's actually not that far away. Like my dream income isn't that far away. Yet if we don't work it out, if we don't have the courage to go, let me sit, let me work my numbers, let me understand this thing and go after it. We just think it's this thing so far away and there's so many obstacles in the way that, oh my God, I could never get there. But yeah, when we know the number, it's like, wow, actually, that's pretty doable. And same as you, Jen, like, I think someone said up the top, I think it helps quieten the monkey mind. I would agree, Fiona, because sometimes we need to do some real digging and work out where's that monkey mind coming from. And there are unhelpful stories. Remember session 1, we've got to dig, we've got to deprogram, reprogram. That's just ongoing work. But sometimes we're actually just giving ourselves permission to be let off the hook. Sometimes we're just procrastinating. Sometimes we are actually just using time as a luxury, like we live like we're not going to die. I've been guilty of that. We just live like we're not going to die. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next Monday. I'll do it next year. It's like we don't get the time back. This is it.
And let me tell you this, 95% of ladies that we work with, their monkey mind is telling them that their dream life is impossible. Their monkey mind saying, oh, you can't have that. You're not smart enough. You're never going to figure it out. Who are you to want that? Blah, blah, blah. But then when I say, what's your dream life? They're not clear on that. And they haven't attached a number to their dream life. And so their monkey mind is just this big, loud voice that doesn't have a clue what it's talking about, but they're listening to it. And just sitting in that, oh yeah, it's too far out of my reach. It's just not possible. That's for other people, that kind of life. But actually, no, when we get clear and then we have this realization, actually, I could do that. I could learn how to do that. I could fill that gap.
Yeah. So ladies, this is shift number 1. This is a really powerful one to do. Simple, but makes a huge difference. And it really is about measuring the value of your time. You get to decide this. Okay, let's go through some other shifts that we want to just help you understand and maybe start, because when we see things differently, we then start to do things differently, right? So often when someone comes to me and they say, I'm just so busy, I don't have time. Can you help me with like some time management stuff? I hate that term, time management. It's not about time management. We get what we get. Often it's not even time that's the problem. The very first thing we need to look at is energy optimization, overtime optimization, energy first. Because think about this yourself. You know those times where you could have 2 hours to get a task done tomorrow morning. It's Friday. You're going into work. Let's say you're knocking off at 12 o'clock. You got 4 hours to get your stuff done. But let's say tonight you ate a bit of the wrong stuff. Maybe you drank 1 glass too many of wine. Maybe you're in like a pretty negative headspace. You just had someone around you who was just a whinger and a complainer and a blamer and a victim. And so what am I talking about? I'm talking about what we're putting in our mouth, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, like all of this stuff that impacts who we are and how optimized we are. And so when you go in the next morning, you know those mornings when you sit down to get stuff done, like when that time rolls around, how is your energy? Is it rich? Is it poor? Because you know those times where you just feel like you got nothing. You just feel like you can't, your tank is empty. Whereas those times when you come in and it's like, you know what, I don't know, I feel alive, I've got clarity, I've got energy, I feel good in my body, I feel confident, like it's good. Now, you can have the same amount of hours. We'll have 4 hours, but what's produced within that time, what's squeezed out of that time is a really different result. And so a lot of the time, again, when we're working with women and time seems less because they're juggling work, maybe family, then maybe starting their thing over here. It's like when time is less, intention better go up, and energy optimization has to be the priority. Because what we do in the time is what we can control. How much time we have is not. So it's just a really big thing, understanding that our energy directly affects how and what we do in the time that we have. So it's one of the core things that Jen and I will always look at. Every single month, we do an 11-day reset. We're starting one on Monday, and we do it with our ladies monthly, because this body, this mind, like we don't get to where we want to go without it. It's got to be on board. And so if we've only got 1 or 2 hours a day, we want to squeeze that juice. We want clarity. We want to be energy rich. We don't want to be depleted. So if you're feeling like, hey, I think it's a time problem, first, make sure that your energy is optimized and you'll feel like, you know, when you just get a lot more done in the time that you have. So that's the first one. Jen, anything to add there? I know it's a big one for you, like being background as a health professional, and we look at this a lot, ladies.
I just think most people are walking around with a hangover that they don't realize they even have. And until they do like a neat, sweet reset and really clean out their system, follow a great program, then you go, oh my gosh, like this is how I'm supposed to feel. It's this, we should be feeling charged, not just like just getting through the day. We should be feeling like this zest for life, like we're lit up from the inside. That's actually how we're meant to function. But we get so used to dulling ourselves down with whatever. Basically, it's what we put in our mouth. That's just not optimal for our bodies. And we operate, sure, we operate, but it's really and the best description I can give it is, you know, that feeling when you wake up and you're like, yeah, I just didn't need that last glass of wine last night. I should have stopped. it's that, and you have that dull kind of feeling. You're just not that motivated, not that energetic, a little bit slow, definitely not creative, not your usual productive self. It's like that we're operating at all the time. So it's a really fast way to get yourself in the game and achieving a lot more in your time.
Yeah.
So the next one is efficiency versus effectiveness. So imagine thinking about your goals, your dreams, your wishes, your desires. And imagine that you're really efficient at folding socks and ironing shirts, and you can just get that done and you're awesome and you're doing it away. And then next thing you're really efficient, you're cleaning the windows. It's like, but it's not, you can be so efficient at doing those things and so busy and so productive in that with those tasks. But how are they helping you get towards your dreams and your goals and your wishes and your desires? Versus effectiveness is doing the right thing, doing the thing that matters. And it's really easy to sometimes avoid the thing that really matters because it might be new. It might be that it's a new skill that we have to master. And so it feels awkward and clumsy and challenging when we're first stepping into it. And it's easy just to do the things that we're good at. But the things that we're good at are probably the things we've done for the last 10 years. And if we keep doing those on repeat, we're just going to get the same results. And we can't change our life. Nick, do you want to add?
Yeah. The thing that and just write it down, like I always just get really clear, because again, what we said before, there are some things that you just are on your plate at the moment, but you have to understand which ones do you need to be really efficient at and wrap it up. And this goes into optimizing time, your 9 to 5, sorry. And what's most important, what are the needle moving activities? Because otherwise it can feel like we're running around in a frenzy, doing a whole lot of things, but getting not really far. So even writing that list, like when you get clear on all the things that you're doing and you do a bit of a time audit, you can actually, you might like to color code, however it is that your brain picks it up. So you can create the habit of, yeah, I've got to fold the socks and undies. Don't even worry about folding undies, but right, whatever you want to do. Yes, I've got to fold it, but I'm going to be very quick at that. I need to get that done in 10 minutes. I don't need to take my time doing 30 minutes. So even just having a list of what are the efficient activities, yes, they have to be done, but they don't have to have a lot of time spent on them. And what are the effective ones, which are needle movers? So that also moves into optimizing the 9 to 5. So sometimes, and maybe you're in a 9 to 5, maybe you want to stay in your 9 to 5, maybe you love it. The reality is that we want to make sure we're using it as a launch pad for ourselves as well. So often when women come into our space, they have a real down and out feeling about their 9 to 5. Like sometimes, and you might be at that point where you're just like, I'm just done with it. I've ticked the boxes. Every time I finish, it feels like they've just rinsed everything out of me. Like I am done. And it's this kind of exhausted, negative feeling towards what it is. And so the reality is when we change how we see our job, then we change how we feel about it. And we can actually use it as a lever to get us to where we want to go. So, we're not going to go into all the short-term and long-term levers, as it's a bit of a different session with optimizing your 9 to 5. But just know that you want to look for your core resources. So all of our core resources are time, network, skills, energy, and money, and they all equal money, but they are the core resources that we all have. So when we're looking at the 9 to 5, it is sometimes an evaluation of, am I in the right one? Is it the resource of money I need right now? And does my 9 to 5 provide that for me? Does it actually help me breathe? Because the bills are taken care of, the roof is over the head, the family is taken care of. Okay, I can appreciate it for that reason for now, rather than just hating it. Is it, I need a bit of a switch up. The money's not important. It's about the network and the skills that I need to pull the lever of in my job. And sometimes our ladies do a switch up of their career or their job, because we're always looking for ROI. We're looking for the best return on investment for the resources that we want to fill up on. And so our job can allow us to do that. Ideally, if you're in the job, it's also permission to switch off when you knock off, and this is where efficiency comes in. It's like you have to switch off now. And a job allows that, because when you get started in your own thing, I don't think I switch off. And I love that I don't, because I love what I do. And Jen, you're probably the same. It's like we don't really switch off. We're always on, always thinking, always doing something. But it is what we love to do. So it's just, if we can see, I just want to say, if you're feeling negative towards your job, if it's sucking the joy and the life out of you, look for what return is it giving you. And is that the return you need based on where you're going? Maybe there is a switch up needed. Or, yeah, it is giving you some of these things. So let's fall into appreciation so it can be your launch pad for now, not forever, just for now. Cool. Should we go on to tactical stuff, Jen? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, so these are, I'll let you kick off this one if you want, Jen, but these are the tactical moves, lady, as in the things. I'm going to suggest implement one a day. So maybe do this one tomorrow. And then the second one we show you, stack it. So then add the second tactical move the following day, and then add the third one the next day. And let us know how much your productivity increases.
Yeah, and so don't feel like you have to do all of these. Just choose, like, this is not one that I tend to use. I think, Nick, you tend to use this one a little bit more.
Yep.
So but give them all a go and work out which ones work for you. So this one's called the Pomodoro technique. And what you do is identify the tasks that you need to complete, set the time. So choose the first task, set the timer for 25 minutes, and then work on that task with no distraction. No distraction. The timer's on. It doesn't matter what happens. You know, you're not going to get up and answer the door. You're not going to answer the phone. You're going to make sure you don't look up when your email pings, whatever. Stay focused. When the alarm sounds, then you have a break. Then you can go to the toilet, grab a drink, and check the email, whatever you need to do. But it's a 5-minute break, right? Do that 3 times. Then you take a 30-minute break and start again. You'll be amazed how much you get done because you were disciplined enough to be focused. And I don't know if you picked up when Nick said it earlier in the call, but focus is probably the most valuable skill that has been lost in the world of today. And if you can be disciplined enough and practice and regain your ability to focus, you'll soar into the top 1%, because it's what most people just can't do.
Yeah. And the other thing on this one, Jen, and it's important to know, because it's not just, oh, that seems like a cool little task. It helps your brain. So remember how we said we need to be in charge? Because if we're at the mercy of things that don't matter versus the things that do, like, we have to choose that. So every time that we task switch, every time a notification comes in, the average person gets 10 a day. Every time, like whether that's on social media, email, oh, my phone, I just got another message, oh, another email, all of that. 1, it drops our IQ. And 2, it takes up to 22 minutes to get refocused. So we've all been sold this lie as women that we're great multitaskers. Stop it. Stop multitasking. We are not great at it. Our brain, it's like, what are you doing? Like, help me out here. So just on that, and it's little things, please turn off your notifications. If you're at the mercy of every notification, you are at the losing end of technology. It's that simple. Like, it is there to draw us in, to distract us, to dull us down, to get us buying the next thing and buying into the next thing that doesn't really matter. It's like, turn it off. So it's just, when we know these things, it's like, yeah, let's get serious about this, because I don't need my IQ to drop, and I don't have 22 minutes to waste just to refocus. So it's super helpful. Just turn this stuff off, be focused on this. And honestly, the amount that you get done in that time, you will be blown away with.
And going back to your hourly rate that you've identified, the person who commands $520 an hour doesn't get distracted. No one's going to pay anyone $520 for going, like, no one. So if we want to be the person who deserves to bring $520 an hour, we have to act like that person.
Yep. Biggie.
Super.
Okay, next one, ladies. So next tactical move is understanding what we call maker versus manager tasks. So again, this is really deciphering. So when you get really clear, remember, we're going vision, we're going goals, then we're going the day-to-day, the priorities and the actions. And within those priorities and actions is a couple of things. One, there can be big projects that we need to chunk down. We actually spoke about this, I think it was on today's call with our ladies, is that sometimes we write on our to-do list, don't even like that name, we'll talk about that in a sec, but we write on our list a project. And have you ever noticed how it stays on the list? And it's like, oh, okay, I'll get to it tomorrow. Okay, yep, let me flick another page. Oh, better write that down again. Yep, haven't crossed it out. Oh my gosh, it's a week. Yep, still haven't done that project. It's probably because it is a project. So there's a difference between a project and a task. So tasks help us fulfill the project, and we do it in bite-sized pieces. So sometimes, like if I said, you know, I have to design the website or get the website going, there's a lot in that. It's like the domain name, the connection of it all. I have to design it. I have to find the photos. I have to come up with a copy. Like there's a lot of different activities and tasks in doing that. So the first thing before even understanding what maker and manager is actually understanding what projects and tasks are, so that we're not putting something that feels like a huge thing that we never get to, and we've got to do it in bite-sized pieces first. That always helps. Then when you have that really clear, what you're going to notice is some of them fall into what we call a maker, and some of them fall into what we call a manager task. And this is where your maker tasks, they require, creative power. Your manager tasks, they require administration power. It's like a different thing. It's a different energy. It's a different level of focus. It's a different action. And sometimes we're doing our maker tasks in times where we're depleted because we didn't optimize our energy anyway. And we're not our best self. And we're trying to force it. And that doesn't mean that sometimes we got to get stuff done when we've got to get it done. But if we can be aware of this and tune into ourselves and go, that's when I'm my most creative. That's when I'm my most energy rich. That's when the ideas flow. I need to block time and be intentional for those creative, because the creative stuff needs more of you. Kind of like needs you to be you, and needs your creative power and your brilliance and your intuition and your ideas and your vision. Whereas manager tasks, I'll do them like I might pop Netflix on and do a manager task. That's when I'll stack those activities because they don't require as much focus, attention. Maybe I'm doing something on Canva, or I can just email back, whatever it is, life admin, things like that. So understanding them is super key. So then you can work out when to do what. And remember, we're just looking for how do we just optimize more of our time. We're not going to get it right every time. And sometimes we're going to have to get stuff out when we don't feel like getting it out, when we don't feel like our best self. So this isn't a cop out. Oh, I don't feel like my creative self, so I won't do it. Sometimes it is getting done. It's just, hey, how can we operate more within these two spaces? Anything to add there, Jen? No, good. Okay, over to you. You're on mute.
Sorry, got a bit of background noise here. So this is one of my faves. So the night before, getting clear on what's going to happen the next day, because a lot of people wake up and they're like, oh, what do I need to get done today? It's kind of too late to think about it. But having that list ready to go and knowing what the day looks like really helps us to power into the day and get a lot more done. So identifying before you go to bed 3 to 5 key actions, writing them down, then putting them in order to go which one's most important and which one needs to be done first, so that the others can be done more effectively. Which one do I really need to get off the list? So 3 to 5, no more than that. And then the first thing you're going to do when you get to your chunk of time that's allocated to get those tasks done is get number one done. Now, doing this will allow you, even if you've got a 9 to 5 to fit in, sometimes you look at this list and you go, I really have to get these done tomorrow. Okay, that means I'm going to set my alarm an hour earlier so I can get number one ticked off before I go to my 9 to 5. And that means I've got less to do when I get home from my 9 to 5. So it allows really good planning and getting a lot more done. You don't want to wake up feeling vague.
Mm-hmm. Gonna help the brain out. Okay. Tactical move number 4, ladies, and this one is the last one. So this one I tend to lean into a lot when I get in those moments of, oh, I feel like I'm a little bit unfocused. Oh, just had a few things come at me. What's going on here? Because that'll happen, right? As intentional as we want to be, life also happens, and things just do come at us. And so this here, it's the book is called The One Thing. Can't think who it's by. It's a yellow book. It's called The One Thing, and it is incredible. It's so good. I definitely recommend popping it on your reading list. And this is the question that he has you ask, and it's so powerful because it does the 2 things that are listed here. When you ask this question, it has you get clarity, magic of clarity, on what's my big picture one thing. So where's the important thing, the vision, the goal? And it also has you get clear on what's the small focus one thing. What's the priority, the action that moves me there? Because remember, we need both. Yeah, Gary Keller. Awesome. It's so good. So the focus question is this. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? I actually picture like a lot of women sitting in their car with their kids screaming and just taking a few breaths and asking this question. It's just like in those moments when you're just like, oh my God, get it together. Like, hold on. If you can, and this, like, I've just repeated this question so much that it just, it automatically comes out. And that's the thing with these 4 tactical moves. At first, yeah, you might have to go to the slide and go, what was it again? And how do I work that out? And how do I put the night system together? But over time, it's like you'll drop into this stuff. We want to create habits out of these tactical moves. And so this is just a super powerful question. When you feel like there's too many projects, when you feel like there's too many demands, when you feel like, oops, you added a little bit too much to the list, even more than your priority list, just fall on this question, because it does help you zone into, hey, what's the big picture focus? What's the small focus action? Super helpful. And I definitely recommend reading that book as well. So there's some of the tactical moves to work on, ladies. The last thing here, and I love this quote, is time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you've lost it, you can never get it back. That precious resource that we have. So what's the cost of not being intentional with it? So this is the process, and we've shared with you, ladies, we've only had an hour, so we needed to share some of the core ones with you, but it is a big piece. And as we said, I think every week, Jen, it's probably a conversation that comes up for women in our space, to really work on this and dial it in. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's really nothing more important, right? Because time is all we have, and we all have the same amount of time in the day, yet we see such a variation in results. So truth is that we all can choose whichever results we want if we're willing to optimize our time and really get focused on intentionally using it to create the life that we wish to design.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. So Warren, if you're on, we're going to hand it over to you. And thank you, ladies, again for being on third call. Thank you for giving us your time as well, because we get how precious it is. So we appreciate it.
Warren might not be quite back to his computer.
Awesome. Thanks, Rach. Thanks, Kat. Thanks for being on here with us.
Yes, thanks, ladies.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Nolene. Thanks, Minu. Very cool. I know Warren will get this recording out anyway. I think they get it out within 24 hours, which is awesome. So you will get this, and yeah, so glad, Judy. And you can take screenshots, you can focus. Like we said, maybe just pick one of those tactical moves and then start stacking them and see how you go. Beautiful. We
Okay.
might love you and leave you, ladies.
Awesome. Hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Okay, cool. Thanks,
Thanks,
Jen.
Jen.
See you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Warren. Bye.
To kick the habit of my mind.